Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to the Mindset Exchange with Dr. Vicky. I welcome you today. It's a special day today. We have a special guest here with us, but our topic today is going to be on from humble beginnings to high earnings, mindset shifts for nine-figure deals. And I know that some of you are on here, you're listening to me because you want to move from where you are to achieving those financial goals in the business that you have. So, what is the mindset shift all about, or mindset exchange rather, all about? Once again, I am Dr. Vicky Otarogina from the island of Barbados, and the mindset exchange is all about all about sharing the mindset that has helped other people achieve the greatness that they're walking in right now, and being able to share that with you wherever you are in the world joining from. We're exchanging mindsets. So today I have a guest with me. He is Nigerian, but he's living in Ghana, and he's going to tell you the mindset that was able to help him to grow from humble beginnings to nine figures. That mindset is going to shift your life forever. So in Barbados and around the Caribbean, there is so much conversation about exchanging products or trading products and services across between Africa and the Caribbean. And I'm here to tell you today, while that is so possible, while that is indeed possible, we do have barriers to trade. But outside those barriers to trade, one of the most important things that we have to adopt is the right mindset. The mindset that tells us we are great, that we can get it done, that we can achieve so much greatness, and that we can move from zero to hero. We can move from a place of not achieving or acquiring a lot to a place where we move from zero to nine figures. So today, my special guest is Francis Valnebo. And I'm going to bring him on the screen right now and introduce him to you. So welcome, Francis. It's such a pleasure
Thank
to
you
have
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Vicky. It's an
you.
honor to be here. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So he's an inspiring and an insightful young man. Again, we're talking about from humble beginnings to high earnings, mindset shifts for nine-figure deals. Again, I'm Dr. Vicky Otarina, and it's a pleasure to have everyone here today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Francis Valnebo. He is a national speaker. He's an author and the CEO of a digital ad agency known as Growth Jetty Labs. And he and his team, they help consultants, agency owners, and subject matter experts become more valuable, visible, and irresistibly positioned in their markets. So they've worked directly with 34 brands in different verticals over the past 7 years, including international organizations like GIZ, the UNDP, and SME agencies. So their ideal clients are typically established IT service companies generating between 300,000 and $1 million in annual revenue, with teams of 30 to as much as 100 people. So we know that he has great experience. And currently, they're serving clients in Asia, Africa, and the United States. Specifically, they take them from making 5 figures a month to making 6 and 7 figures plus, without inflating their ad budgets. So I want to tell you that Francis, he went from making $12 a month to closing his first 6-figure deal, 9 figures in his home currency within 4 short years, while still in his 20s, by mastering the art of value evaluation. So today, he finds tremendous fulfillment in sharing the lessons he's learned from working on himself with other entrepreneurs. And he lights up rather when he sees a mighty 10-time transformations with his clients and students that they experience when they decide to work with him. So Francis, once again, I welcome you to the floor. I welcome you to
Thank you
this
so
platform.
much.
Pleasure.
I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me. That was a phenomenal introduction. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Yeah, we can jump right in.
No problem. So, of course, you're most welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here once again. And you talk about this concept of value. And I want you to share with us how this concept of value has shaped your career and contributed to your
Mhm.
financial achievements.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I'll give some context. So last year we closed our first $100,000 deal. That was 170 million naira. That's nine figures. That
Wow.
was last year. This year, just 10 months after that, I helped an agency close their first 250 million naira deal. So that was 150,000 US dollars. And all of that happened just within the space of the past kind of 2 years. However, prior to last year, just 4 years earlier, I was stuck. I was making $12 a month. I could not afford Uber. I could not afford the public bus. I could not afford enough tomatoes to make my jollof rice properly colored. I tell people that a lot. It was that bad. However,
Wow.
within the space of those 4 years, from 2018 or 2019 to 2023,
Mhm.
I mastered. Well, I won't say I have mastered, but I definitely discovered this concept of value elevation, and that's
Yes.
what took me from essentially going from 12 and multiplying my earning capacity by 8,000. So when you multiply 12 by 8,500, that's when you get the figure. So I've noticed a number of things. This concept about value, right? And I would admit the way I stumbled across it, it was unplanned. So
Mhm.
I'm going to share my screen just to make an example, to give an example that brings the point home. Let me know when you can see the screen, if you can. This is a fun exercise. It's a fun exercise that I always take people through. So this is it. Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So you can see the screen. You can see there are two houses on the screen.
Yes, we
So
can.
whenever, can you see the two houses?
Yes, I can see the two houses. It's visible.
Awesome. So whenever I am asked to narrate my journey to uncovering this concept of value and how I even came across it, I default to this illustration. So here we have two houses on screen, and it's just a little exercise for those of us here in the audience. I mean, Dr. Vicky, you yourself, you can pick. So the question here is, of the two pictures on screen, which would you prefer? If you were to be gifted the gift of a house, which would you say is more classy, more elegantly designed, way more creatively designed? Which one would you go for? So is it the one on the left or the one on the right? If you're in the comment section, you can type left or right. Um, Dr. Vicky, you're free to pick as well. Would you go for the one on the left or the one on the right?
If it's more classy, it's left, but I like the one on the right. I would go with the one on the right.
Okay. Which one looks more modern?
Modern is left, definitely.
Modern is left. Classy is left. Some people might like the one on the right, and that's fine. We all have our tastes, right? Now, this image you see on the left is actually a house that I myself designed. In a previous life, I was working as an architect. And during my
Wow.
internship days, I got contracted by a client to design their dream home for them. And I came up with the house that you see on the left. I delivered the job on Friday. I got paid on Saturday. And by Monday, when I got back to the office, I was so excited to show my superiors what I had done and tell them how I just got paid to do something that I just was in love with. I was so passionate about design. And when I met my superior, his name is Uncle Chiago. He looked at me and he asked me how much I charged. And then I told him. And he said, okay, he's going to show me a house that he designed. So he's also an architect. And he designed the one that you see on the left. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were asked how much I charged, you'd probably guess, I don't know what you guess, but I was paid 8,000 naira to come up with this design. I look at this and I still laugh till date. Depending on the
Wow.
exchange rates that you use to convert, you see that, okay, that's probably between $5 to $20 maximum, right? And so he looked at me and he showed me the design that he did. And then I asked him how much he charged. And he told me that he charged 1.4 million naira for the one that you see on the left. The dollar equivalent, 3,500 USD plus. And this is way back then. Exchange rates were much better. And so when he told me the price that he charged and how much he got paid for his design, I felt cheated.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was unfair because by all indications, my design was classier. I put my heart and soul into it. It was more elegantly designed. It's more modern. I mean, I would pick my design over his, but I got paid $20. And this is a real life story. This is a true story. And so I asked him what was wrong, and he told me something which I will never forget. He said to me, Val, your problem is that you are highly skilled, but you are not highly valued. And when he said it, I
Wow.
froze. When he said it, I froze. I mean, I felt I was doing okay academically. I graduated top of my class and all of that. But what he told me stuck with me. As a matter of fact, it took me 2 years to fully understand what he meant. When I came to, I realized that he was right. And I realized something, which is that value is subjective. Value is subjective. I just came to the realization that, okay, I'd been to school for 4 years, 5 years. I went to college, 4 years, 5 years for some of us. And at the end of my program, I still did not understand the meaning of the word and the concept of value. I did not. It took me a number of years to eventually come to the understanding that I operate by right now, and that has allowed me to elevate my value, taking me from humble beginnings to where I am now. And so this is my definition of value. I came to realize that value is the relative utility of a presented solution as judged by an external relevant party. I'll say it again. The relative utility of a presented solution as judged by an external relevant party. Immediately, you see that value is not something that you determine as the provider of value. Your value is judged by an external party. In the case of business, it's your customers. But the value of anything is subjective and it is relative compared to other available solutions on the market. You have to understand there will always be an alternative for the things that you offer. And so your utility compared to other alternatives is one of the factors that are considered or that is considered when people are making an assessment of your value. So this is very crucial. It's very important. This is the first definition of value that saved my life. The second definition is that value is the object of all voluntary human exchange. What does that mean? It means that for any two humans to willingly exchange resources, there is an implicit agreement that what I am exchanging is less valuable than what I am exchanging it for. Human exchanges that are profitable are the exchanges that you find are most often voluntary. If an exchange is not profitable, chances are you will back out. And it's so serious that even if an exchange is mutual, you will back out. Because, for instance, if I ask you to give me $100 in exchange for $100, and we keep making that exchange, at the end of the day, all we did is waste time. But if I ask you to give me $100 so that I can give you 1,000, all of a sudden you want to keep that exchange happening again and again and again. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if possible. And so, for an exchange to be counted as valuable, it must be profitable for both parties involved. So, this is the first real shift that I had to embrace as far as understanding value is concerned. I also realized that I had been misled through no fault of my own. There were certain misconceptions that I had imbibed, I believed. I used to think, for instance, that there is value in certain industries versus some other industries. I'm not sure how many of us have heard the term, oh, there's, for instance, there's money in X. So there's money in Bitcoin, there's money in oil and gas, there's money in whatever. And I used to believe that, and it kept me stuck. What I realized is that there is no money, there's no value in any industry. Rather, there is money and value in the people who are valued in that industry. And so you are not meant to go chasing after money. You're meant to go looking out for people. You shouldn't look for money. You should look out for people. And when you do, you find that money comes to find you. Money comes looking for you. But you don't get it by going to chase after it. And you don't get it definitely by believing that there's money in oil and gas. So I mean, the proof of this is if I asked you, okay, there's money in oil and gas, fine, go get me some. What would you do? Where would you go? It's not like you're going to walk into a refinery and then scoop some oil and come hand it to me. And it's not like you're going to pluck money from thin air. You have to meet someone in that industry and pitch something to them and then get the money that they have in their bank account. So that understanding of value is important. I also used to think that value was tied to how much time you spent on a thing. So if I'm an artist and I spend 2,000 hours, it means my work should be more valued than someone who spent 20 minutes on his work. I learned that that also was not the case. I'll tell a story. Sometime last year, this was 2023, I was doing some work for a client. This was some digital marketing project. We're running some advertisements. And because I was so occupied, I was so busy, I had to multitask. So for this client's campaign, I remember very vividly, I was in transit. I was moving from one point to another, and I was almost absent-mindedly setting up their campaign for them. That campaign went on to generate 1,246% return on their ad spend. That's a 12x profit. But it was a campaign that I executed almost absent-mindedly. I could do that because I had mastered my craft and all, but it would be dumb for me to price my services much lower because it took me all of 5 minutes, for instance, to set up a campaign that gave them 12x profits. It would not make sense. So value is not tied to the amount of time necessarily that you spend executing the thing. Okay? Value as well is not your skill. You can be skilled and not valuable. And this is something that I feel that is not spoken about enough, how that the educational system has in fact changed this generation. The educational system, day in, day out, is pumping out individuals who are highly skilled but not very valuable. Nobody teaches you the concepts of value in school. Even when they teach you entrepreneurship in school, they don't cover things like this, things that you need to survive. It took me a number of years after I graduated college to understand some of the things that I'm sharing. And it shouldn't have to be that way. That's part of why we're having sessions like this, hoping that we can spread this word so that more people imbibe the right mindsets early enough. Value is not tied to your skill. You must have an intrinsic skill, but your value is not your skill. Value is not tied to the amount of time that you spent on something. And value is also not necessarily tied to an industry. In any industry, there are people who are making a whole lot of money, and there are those who are not. Again, value is the relative utility of a presented solution as judged by an external relevant party. And so the question is not, can you play football? The question is, compared to Messi, compared to Ronaldo, how well or how good a footballer are you? The question is not, can you cook? The question is, can you cook for a 7-star hotel? These are the conversations, those are the conversations of relativity that are often not talked about. And finally, on this section, you need to understand that value is judged by an external party. It is not up to you to say that I am valuable. There are indices, there are specific metrics that help us know whether or not you are valuable. And one of them is the exchange. I often say that there can be no value unless there's an exchange. So you can talk about how you like me and how you like my product and service. If you've not bought from me, it's not valuable to you. You've not shown that it's valuable. And so for value to exist, there must be an exchange. Now, another thing that I discovered is there's a way people think about the works of their hands. So most times we work the 9 to 5, we have to pay bills, respect. But I've seen that, and again, I say this with all due respect, right? But I've seen that and I grew up poor, so I'm not pointing fingers. So I grew up poor, middle class, right? I discovered that the poor and the middle class pay for things with their time. And they pay for things with money that they've exchanged their time with. That's why it feels like when they're buying something, it's as though they're giving their life away because they are. But people who are entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, we pay for things with value exchange. We pay for things with value exchange. And this is a powerful concept. So this definition, I wish I could burn it into everyone's brains, but it's very crucial. The next thing is you need to understand some of the benefits of being valuable so that it motivates you to go after it and to elevate as far as value is concerned. The first benefit of value is that value is hard currency. It's not spoken about enough. And I will always drum this again and again and again. Whatever money can buy, value can take for free. You might want to write that down. Whatever money can buy, value can take for free. I'm currently in a 3-bedroom home. I did not pay a penny for this house. The first car I got when I moved into Ghana was a car I just got like that. I didn't pay for it at all. And so when I say that you literally can pay for anything that you would have paid for with money, with value, I mean that in the practical sense. If you're thinking about how do you pay the fees for the children, you can pay for that with value exchange. If you are valuable enough, you will be able to conduct that exchange. You can pay for vacations, you can pay for trips. Some of the flights that I took last year into this year, I didn't pay for them. Wow. But I did exchange those experiences. I came into the experience of those circumstances because of value exchange. Okay? So benefit number one, value is hard currency. Whatever money can buy, value can take for free. The next thing is it helps you support your family much better. I think that's self-explanatory. And there's something about understanding value that boosts your confidence. So you can confidently charge 10 times what other folks are charging in your industry if you understand value elevation. The prices that some people charge, I've been there. I went from $12, roughly $10, let's for round figure sake. I went from $10 to $100, price of my services, right? From 100 to around 1,000. And then I discovered, and this wasn't intentional, by the way. I just realized that I had been following certain principles every single year, such that at the end of every year, I discovered that I've just 10x'd my value, my earning potential in the market. And so I 10x'd my value about 4 times to get to the point where I was closing the 170 million naira deal that I mentioned. Okay. So, but now that I've discovered it, you bet that I'm way more intentional now about applying it and even scaling. The key is to never settle. Your monthly income can become your daily income. Your yearly income can become your monthly income. The key is to never settle. Because once you stop growing, the day you stop growing is the day you begin to die. So it's very important to understand that. And so if we understand this definition of value, I'll just use this to wrap up this my response to this question. I hope I'm not over answering.
It's okay.
The question of what does it mean to be valuable? To be valuable means to become a custodian of perceptibly superior solutions. And this is exactly what I did over the past 4 to 6 years to get to where I am right now. And that's how it's impacted my career, my finances. And I hope that's been helpful.
Definitely. You gave us, thank you so much for that. You gave us in this segment quite a bit of conversation on what those mindsets are, or what are the things that we need to change in our thinking. And the first thing you said that really caught me, which was literally the first thing, we have to look at the high valued versus high skilled. And I think
Mhm.
that we focus so much on being so highly skilled that we forget about the value. And it's because we don't build up that value and even see the value in a different way that we attract customers who are who can't pay, or who
Bargain
would
hunters.
who would say $1,000 when people are out there charging $20,000 for the same service. But we seem
Yeah.
to be attracting the wrong clientele. And that's
Mhm.
what today is all about, having that mindset of what you carry, that value, looking at that value in the right way so that you can attract the right audience and also deliver without um over without so using so much energy, spending so many hours, because people believe you have to spend so many hours doing this thing. But it's how you see
Yeah.
yourself, is the mindset and the vision for yourself that makes a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah, it does. And so speaking about how you can attract the right people, the second component of the framework I teach is the component of visibility. So
Yes.
after I speak about visibility, I'll come back to value just to share more practical steps. But just to briefly touch on visibility. Again, I used to think I understood the meaning of the word. And so something I've learned is that the definitions that you give, the working definitions that you have of certain words that you have in your mind, they affect the way that you act. Because words are first thoughts and eventually words become flesh. So that's why I'm big on defining certain things properly. Visibility, by my definition from experience, is the ability to trigger influence in the consciousness of a collective that you are called to serve. That is visibility. I'll take it slowly. Visibility is the ability to trigger influence and connection in the consciousness and in the heart of a collective that you are called to serve. Visibility is not about being seen, it's about being remembered.
Wow.
Visibility is not about being seen, it's about being remembered. And you need to understand people don't see with their eyes, they don't hear with their ears. People see with their minds and they remember with their hearts. And so to be visible means that you are contextually relevant in the consciousness of a collective that you are called to serve. You will need to be seen to become visible, but that I can see you don't mean that you're visible to me. That you put out a video on social and you have 100 views don't mean that you are visible to the 100 people. Maybe two of them remember you very clearly. The 98, they just saw you, but it don't mean you're visible. And so when you understand strategic visibility, you start asking the right questions. You now start asking questions like, okay, how do I trigger influence? How do I trigger connection?
Wow.
I'll give an example. The first time I landed my first six-figure deal as a Nigerian in this is how many years ago? I was rendering digital agency services, so digital marketing. I was broke. I took the last set of cash that I had on me and I paid for a conference, right? I paid for a conference. This was the annual sales conference being hosted by Mr. George Emetuche, sales expert in Nigeria. And so I paid for that conference. I attended as an attendee. And I can bet you, I think I made more money from that event than all the other participants who came. How did that happen? So during the event, the speaker asked a question, and I was like, that is my opportunity. I raised my hands. I gave such a compelling answer. I came on stage, I gave an answer. I spoke for about 3 to 4 minutes, and it was so compelling. 2 weeks later, someone calls me and he says, I remember what you said at the event. I want us to work together. How much would you charge for X, Y, and Z? And then I billed him. So when we speak about strategic visibility, it's not just that I attended the conference, but I made sure I was remembered by the people who attended the conference. You have to be in the right place, in the right intensity. You have to be remembered by the right people. So always ask, in this market, how do I stand out? What do I do so that I can be remembered? And there are 3 keys for strategic visibility that I always speak about because I found that they work for me. The first is what people know as lead generation. So what is lead generation? Let me just start. The lead generation is the process of getting people to identify as interested in the thing that you have to offer. That is lead generation. So in lead generation, you get people to give you their email, name, and phone number so that you can keep in touch with them and share with them more information and then build that relationship. So the different channels that you use to achieve that will be dependent on the kind of business that you run. You may post content on social, you may visit people in their offices directly. Whatever you do, it should all funnel down to lead generation. You should be able to get them in your ecosystem, in your world. You should be able to point at and say, okay, this is a person interested in the thing that I have to offer. And then you need to understand lead indoctrination. This is not spoken about enough. I don't know why, but lead indoctrination is a process through which you take someone who has become a lead and cut down the skepticism that they have to the point where they now become willing to buy the thing you are selling. Because you need to understand that I indicated interest in the thing that you have to offer don't mean that I trust you. It just means I'm interested, right? And so the system that you use to take people through a process that gradually cuts down skepticism is what I call the lead indoctrination phase, okay? And to pull this off, you need to understand influence. I think we've mentioned influence, so I might as well just define influence. Influence, by my definition, is the ability to illuminate and inspire action along a path towards a desired destination. So it's about illumination and inspiration. It is how you get people to do things without forcing them. It is the art of creating volition in another person. So that is influence. And so you might be asking, how do you influence the people who have just become leads in your ecosystem? You do that using storytelling. So what we've seen is that there are certain kinds of stories that when you tell, it just resonates. By the way, influence, I always say influence is a function of trust. Trust is a function of resonance. Therefore, influence is a super function of resonance. What is resonance? The ability to vibrate at the same frequency as something. And so the reason we admire celebrities is because they represent a bigger version of our deepest desires and our thoughts and beliefs.
Yes.
They resonate with us at a larger level. Therefore, they can influence us. And so they can tell us, buy this thing. And we're like, man, I want to be like maybe Benny Hinn. If Benny Hinn says I should buy something, you bet I am buying it. I am buying it. Right? That is the power of influence. Influence, again, it's a function of trust. Trust is a function of resonance. Influence is a super function of resonance. Okay. So right now you've understood why you should be valuable or why you should elevate your value. You've understood that you need to attract the kind of people who you want to do business with by lead generation. You've also started understanding that you need to be intentional about cutting down skepticism and showing them value and leading them, influencing them so that they come to a decision and an understanding that, hey, if it's about achieving XYZ result, you're probably the best person. And so you just help me get there, right? So that's strategic visibility. I'm curious, do we have questions? I think I should ask, do we have questions? I can answer them before moving on to the next.
We just have some comments. Persons are saying that they are learning a lot. Somebody's just saying yes. Dr.
Amazing.
Bernice from Ghana, she's saying, I will be at the right place at the right time. So we have 9 persons over here on
at
LinkedIn.
The right intensity as well.
At the right intensity. Yes. So she's at the right place. Sorry, with the right intensity.
Exactly.
Yes, the right intensity. And we have Ife Inwa, who's saying, I'm learning a lot.
Okay, I mean that's completely fine. So at any point, if we have questions, please leave them in the comments. We'll have a time for Q&A. So I will say this: if you are valuable but not visible, you will be utterly unknown. If you are visible but not valuable, you will feel utterly unworthy. You feel utterly useless. But when you are highly valued and highly visible, you can name your price and life will hand you an open check. This is what I've seen. And so I run into a number of people who, this happened some years ago. I would meet many influencers. I have a lot of people who are influencer friends, right? Back then, I was surprised. Some of my influencer friends will come up to me and they'll be like, Val, I'm broke. I'm like, what? You have how many thousand followers and you broke? Why? And they're like, man, it's just the numbers. Those people, they were visible, but they were not valuable. And that was the reason I even decided that I was not, I don't know. I'm still deciding whether to regret this decision or not, but I did not start posting on social media until 2022.
Wow.
Or 2023, not even 2022. I decided that if I'm going to come online, I have to come online with something worth talking about. I did not want to be the person online chasing clout. I figured that when you conquer the offline world, the online world will follow. Right? So we have to understand you can be visible and not valuable. You can be valuable and not visible, but you want to be both. Then you also want to be irresistible, but that may be beyond the scope of today's session. So I think I saw a question. Someone was asking about lead indoctrination. So let me break down indoctrination just a little bit more. Indoctrination is a process of building belief. It's a process of building belief. And you don't do it by telling people things. You do it by letting people come to natural conclusions on their own, by presenting them with the relevant input. Right? That is indoctrination. I was going to share my screen and show something. I might as well do that now.
So you said it's the process of building belief.
Belief. Yeah, indoctrination is a process of building belief. So I'm going to share something. So I'll touch on this when we circle back to tactics for elevating value. But let me just show something. Let me share screen. So when the screen is visible, let me know. I'll talk about a concept called anchoring later, but I'll also use it to talk about this concept of indoctrination. When you see this picture, this is me, by the way, graduating sometime last year. This is a well-known investor, Jon Lissigan. If you're in the venture capital space, you know who he is. And so, whether or not you know me, if you know Jon and you see a picture of me and him, I don't need to convince you that I have access to a certain kind of network. This picture alone indoctrinates you to believe what is the case, which is access to network, access to high net worth individuals, etc. Not like we're friends and family or anything like that, but the point is made. When you see advertisers selling cosmetics using beautiful models, they are indoctrinating you to believe that the cosmetic product works. Because if the lady is beautiful and she's holding the product and you want to be like the lady, you should get the product. That's the concept, right? So it's using subtle cues to signal the point that you're trying to make without having to verbally disclose them. When you do it that way, people believe it much stronger because they will feel like they came to that conclusion and that they were not deluded into believing the thing. So you can imagine me writing out, I have connections to XYZ kind of people as text. If I wrote that as text and I sent it to you over social media, you doubt me. You're not sure if I'm saying the truth or not. But when you see things that point to that fact, then you're like, oh. So you want to get people to that point where they're like, this person is legit. This person is worth the price they're charging. This person has been doing this for quite some time. They know what they're talking about, etc. You want to get to that point. So this is just a little bit about indoctrination. I will share some more tips. So I spoke about storytelling and how it's important. There are stories that you tell, and we've seen this. You tell stories and they help cut down skepticism. And there are 4 kinds of stories. The reason storytelling works is because it's our evolutionary survival mechanism. Eons ago, your survival depended on the story you heard about the lion in the bush. Social proof, someone said social proof. Social proof is a way of indoctrination, right? The way social proof happens will differ for different kinds of businesses, but social proof. However, social proof, then storytelling, like I was saying. And there are certain types of stories that you tell. If I give you a fact, you're like, but if I tell you a story, you're like, wow, that happened. And so storytelling is a way of bypassing the logical mind. People are not thinking, is this person, is the fact, like people are not thinking about the facts. They like a story. There's a reason Hollywood is $1 trillion industry. They tell us the same kind of stories again and again and again, and we keep buying. We keep buying. We know that the hero is going to end up with a girl. It's the same storyline. We flock the cinemas, right? And it just happens. So what I've seen is that there are 4 kinds of stories that you tell that help people get connected with you. So sometimes, for instance, I tell the story of how in my journey, it came to a point I was actually half blind, really. Yeah, I wish I had the pictures. I might pull them up and share with you later. But through no fault of my own, I was attacked by a spider. And no, I did not become Spider-Man. I just had a very serious outbreak. And the venom got into my eyes. And so it started closing my eyes. I couldn't do much. Work I was supposed to do, I could not do that. I was in the hospital for a while. And that it impacted me on my LinkedIn as well. You've also seen there's a post I made how that just 4 to 5 days before the biggest pitch of my life, I broke down. And I broke down because I wasn't taking good care of myself. I was go harder, go harder, go harder. I was that kind of a person. And then just a few days before my main pitch, I broke down. And I was in the hospital bed. If you check my profile, you see it. Now, telling that story, what have I done? All of a sudden, you feel like you know me a bit better. You feel like I'm more human, right? So stories of loss are the first kind of stories that you want to tell to get people connected with you. It helps people bond with you. It makes you look and feel more human. Then you also have to talk about stories about how you gain something. So loss and gain. And then stories of pain and shame. So the typical gain story is, I was here, now I'm here. You too can do the same. That's another classic story that people like or people are drawn to. So you have to master the art of telling those stories once you've generated a lead. That way, people naturally come to the conclusions that they can trust you. The way you build trust is by storytelling. Right? The way I'm on this stream with you is because of storytelling. We connected, we got on a call, I told you something, and you're like, wait, we have to be on a live stream.
Yes.
Right? So storytelling cuts down skepticism. Now, I should warn, credibility is a big part of indoctrination. So people have to see that you are legit when they hear you. And I mean, people can sniff when you're being disingenuous, right? So you never want that to work against you. So that's something that I just thought to mention. So hopefully that sheds some light into lead indoctrination. I mentioned that there are 3 keys for strategic visibility: lead generation, lead indoctrination. The third is strategic collaboration. Strategic collaboration. Because you will, how do I say, the markets are not invented. People are not manufactured. People already exist. You just have to find a way to reach those people. And these people already gather somewhere. So you need to find who are the people my ideal target audience listens to, and how can I partner with those people so that I can spread my message, so that I can exchange value. They get something valuable from me. I bring value to their audience. My audience also gets value from their audience. There's that cross-pollination. So breaking out of the mindset of I have to do it all by myself is crucial. It took me a while to get there, but it's paid its weight in dividends, right? So lead generation, lead indoctrination, strategic collaboration. Those are some of the things that I can share. Because of time, I think I'll just have to segue into tactics for, and this is the main part. All of this has just been introduction. So we'll segue to some tactics for enhancing value continuously.
Mm-hmm.
In my program, the 14-day value elevation challenge, I teach something called the 10x value blueprint. So that's essentially how to become highly valued, and how do you become highly paid and 10 times more valuable in any industry, and in just 4 moves and 14 days. So it's 4 simple moves. I call it simple, not easy, but simple. 4 simple moves that you take to elevate your value. Now, it starts with, so I'll list out the 4 moves just in case we don't cover all of them before time. The first is you must pick a 10x price. The second is you must pick a 10x persona. You must pick a 10x problem, and you must make a 10x pitch. Those are the 4 moves. Now, I'll share details about Value Elevation Challenge later on, but I'll break down some of these things. So 10x price. What does it take to 10x your prices? When you tell someone, I want you to double your prices, they get so apprehensive. The immediate reaction is this overwhelming imposter syndrome. And I know this because I was there. I know this because I've trained a lot of people. And when you tell them double your prices, they're like, hey, if I double my price, who's going to buy from me? I'll chase away all my customers. How much more when you tell them to 10x their price? And so the obstacle you will encounter to 10xing your price is first an internal one. The obstacle you will encounter is your internal belief, your self-esteem. You will battle the demon of imposter syndrome. And I tell people, imposter syndrome is simply the unawareness effect. You are simply not fully aware of your capabilities. It does not mean, so by the way, imposter syndrome is something that only highly skilled people are permitted to have. If you're not highly skilled, you are just not competent. You don't have imposter syndrome. But if you know you're competent and you're scared of raising your prices, you have imposter syndrome. And the way you battle doubt is with data. I tell people, document your competence. You must Document the competence you document today will save you tomorrow. A lot of people do amazing work, but if you ask them, quantify the work you've done over the past 10 years, they go blank. Yes, you battle imposter syndrome with data. Part of the reasons I am able to tell people that my agency, we've worked with 34 brands over the past 7 years, is because guess what? I counted. But people seem not to count. We get stuck in this creation, and not enough reflection. And so the first move in becoming more valuable and 10xing your value, getting paid better for what you do, is to come to terms with 10xing your price. You have to do this exercise. Write out the current price that you charge on a piece of paper, and then draw an arrow and write down the 10x equivalent of that. You have to bring it into the natural world. You have to see it again and again. It has to take root in your mind. Otherwise, you won't even understand what it feels like to charge a certain amount of money. So practice charging that to yourself. Voice recorder, in the mirror, it doesn't matter. Just practice asking for that amount of money. Practice seeing that amount of money. Practice seeing that amount of money before you, right? Document your competence. I tell people, your testimonials are your tickets to the next level. Testimonials are the ultimate ticket. And if you've not, make it a habit to reach out to people and ask them to just give you a testimonial. It can be written, it can be video. I'll even tell you how I came across this. I had imposter syndrome at some point, and I just told myself, you know what? I'm just going to keep documenting myself for a period of time. I wasn't even checking. So anytime someone gave me a compliment about a service that I rendered or a product that I sold or something, and they're like, man, nobody has done this for me the way you did it and everything, I take a screenshot. I used to take screenshots, and I created a folder in Google Drive, and I just dumped it in the folder. And I kept doing that and doing that and doing that. A day came out of the blue. I was minding my business, and then I stumbled across the folder, and my jaw dropped. I said, let me just go through this folder and see. And I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I had gathered over 100 pieces of evidence that I am good at the thing. Not because I think I'm good at the thing, but because people clearly value the thing. So documentation is a way to build conviction. It's not just for the fun of it. Many people squirm when you ask them to document, but testimonials are your ultimate ticket. So the first move is to 10x your price. The way you do that is by building conviction first, actually raising your price, seeing it on paper, battling doubt with data. And the next thing I'll share about how to 10x your prices is this concept called anchoring. So I'm going to share my screen again. Anchoring is powerful. One of the most powerful things that I've come across. Okay. So anchoring, what is anchoring? I explain it using this illustration. The question is, how long is this stick? You probably answer, you don't know. There's no way for you to know. So stick with me. If I asked you now, how long is the second stick? All of a sudden you can tell me, oh, it's 5 meters long. And if I put 1 meter beside the first stick and I ask you which stick is longer, even though they look the same, you tell me the 5 meter stick is longer, even though they look exactly the same. So stick with me. If I said this other one is 5 kilometers, all of a sudden you're like, wait, that's like 10 times longer than this other one. The question is not how long is the stick. The question is, are we zoomed in or not? Anchoring is a process of creating a frame of reference that people will use to compare your offers and your presentations in their minds. Anchoring is a way to establish value subconsciously. And it's so powerful that even after you are aware of it, it will still work on you. I'll give you an example. You go to the movies, they tell you that the small size popcorn is maybe $10, the medium size popcorn is $20, but the large size popcorn is $25. Which one are you buying? You're buying the $25 popcorn pack because you feel like, wait, the large one is so much larger than the small one. I might as well just buy the big one, and it's almost the same price as the middle one. So why would I buy the middle one? I'll just add a little extra money and get the bigger one. That is anchoring. Another example, you've probably seen pricing tables. What you may not have known is that pricing tables are built on anchoring psychology. If I asked you to tell me how valuable the middle plan here is, you tell me, wow, the middle plan, it's 4 times more expensive, but you get 10 times the value. I want to go for that one because you see that the $200 option has 100 contacts, but the $800 one gives you 1,000 contacts. So you start having this conversation in your mind about, oh, which one gives me more value for money? Then you have the 2,400 one, which says 10,000 contacts, but it's only 3 times the price of the $800 one. So now you're thinking, I maybe don't have 2,400, but I definitely want a good deal. I'm going for the 800. The anchor is the item that is placed in the equation, not so that it gets purchased, but so that it gives higher value, higher relative value to the other options that came before it. That is what an anchor is. That is what an anchor is. And it's very important. Why is this important? It's important because when you make a presentation, when you tell someone how much you charge for what you do, and you do not give them an anchor, naturally in their minds, they will compare your price to something else that is less effective and costs a lot less.
Mhm.
They will always default to that. It is your job to give them that frame of reference so that they compare your prices with something that is less effective but way more expensive. Then they feel they're getting a good deal. So you must always be anchoring. It's for example why in the value elevation challenge we don't have one price. It's a challenge, but we have the regular, the VIP, and the VVIP. Right? Regular is $100, VIP is 300, VVIP or platinum is 500, and there are different levels. You get different things for the different options. You must always be anchoring. All of a sudden, you know that 100 is 5 times cheaper than what you get if you were going to be the VVIP, and vice versa. Right? And so when you're asked how much you charge, you should never name just one price or just one item. You must always be anchoring. Don't tell me that you charge, for instance, $300 for coaching full stop. You should tell me you charge $300 for coaching, which is literally like $3 a day for 3 months. That's like less than the price of a Starbucks. You see what I did? I broke it down so that $300 doesn't feel like a lot anymore. It's now a question of, wait, I can afford $3 a day, surely. And you can do that with anything. So you must always have a frame of reference. The frame of reference does not have to be maybe you creating different packages of your exact product or service, but it has to be something that gives us context,
Yes.
something that enables contrast. Contrast creates clarity. If you're a writer, for instance, don't tell me you charge maybe $100 for 1,000 word blog post. Tell me I charge $100 for 1,000 word blog post, which is significantly less than what you would pay if you walked into a high-end agency who would still hire someone like me to do the work for you.
Mhm.
Comparison, right? So you must never leave the battle of comparison to the prospect you are talking to. If you do, they will always compare you to something worth way less. That is anchoring. I've already used this picture for an example, so that's completely fine. So this was a study that was conducted. If you put two items side by side, most times it's 50-50. So people either go for one or the other. But something interesting happens when you add a third higher priced option. All of a sudden, the one in the middle gets picked 70% of the time. This is proven. And as well, if you add a lower priced option, the item in the middle will still get picked, even though the price is lower. So here you see the same 70% of the time, people are going for $75. In the other scenario, people are going for the $50 option, even though it's still like $50 was an option before, right? But yet 70% of the time, people are going for that in this instance. So the major takeaway here is you must always be anchoring. You must always be anchoring, right? So that's just on the first step in terms of how you become highly desired and 10 times more valuable. 10x your price, right? And maybe you don't want to start with 10x, you can start with 2x, right? It doesn't matter. The next thing you must do is you must pick a 10x persona. Now, when you lift your prices, you must understand you will need to appeal to a different group of people. Folks who pay $1,000 for fitness training are not the same folk who pay $10,000 for fitness training. Oh, someone says they picked the middle one. Perfect. Lisa, thank you. So you need to understand 10x persona is the next step. You will uncover a fortune if only you will go where you are valued. And you have to understand, no matter the price you pick, there's someone out there in the world who is looking to pay that price. As a matter of fact, there are people who have a belief, so point of view, if it is cheap, it must be fake. And if it is the best, I don't care what it takes. That is the point of view perspective of a certain class of people. So you do yourself a disservice by believing that you will be the most preferred option by lowering your price. Right? If you will only go where you are valued, you will uncover a fortune. And the thing is, going where you're valued doesn't mean you have to jackpot, like we popularly say. It doesn't mean you have to travel. It doesn't mean you have to relocate. If you can, great. But it doesn't mean you have to. But you do need, the internet is a beautiful place. Right now, we serve clients in Asia, Africa, and the United States. I'm in West Africa, right? So going where you're valued is about discovering where the people you are looking to serve are. So when you've picked a 10x price, you want to ask yourself, okay, who are the kind of people who are looking to pay this kind of a price, and where can I find them? When I tell people find a 10x persona, they get apprehensive. So the apprehension that comes with asking them to 10x their price is imposter syndrome. The apprehension that comes when you ask them to pick a 10x persona is, but I don't know who to go and look. I don't know who to charge and things like that. I don't know where to find the people. How to find a 10x persona 101. Ask the net. Just ask the internet. You can either ask the net or you ask your network. You've heard it and it's true. You are only 7 people away from anybody on earth. And so I will usually do this. As I think I told Dr. Vicky this, the way I found out about her was some years ago. I just did like I normally do. I reached out to my network and I was having conversations and I asked, okay, I'm looking for a certain kind of person that fits this criteria, this criteria, this criteria. Do you know anyone like that you can point me to? I'm not even asking for an introduction. I'm just saying, do you know who these kind of people are? You can leave me, I can go engage with them on my own. If you can introduce me, great. I mean, great. But I just want to know who do these people look like to begin with? Most times we underestimate our network. It costs you nothing to reach out to your network and ask, who do you know that does XYZ, behaves XYZ way, lives XYZ place, and is looking to pay XYZ for XYZ. A lot of ABCs and XYZs. But it costs you nothing. When I was told about Dr. Vicky, granted, I did not act on it back then. I was very occupied. I said, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. And then some years later, I'm seeing a connection request from Dr. Vicky, and I'm like, wait, I know this person. Anyway, so the major task for you when you're trying to pick a 10x persona is audience research. So you have to be meticulous about audience research. Let me see if I can share something. There are at least 10 things you must know about who your ideal customer is. There are at least 8 things that you must know about how they behave. There are at least 9 to 10 things that you must know about how they think. So I am looking for this template. Let me know if the template is visible on screen. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a template I use when I'm trying to pick a 10x persona. So I'm trying to redefine someone I'm trying to reach, right? So we have
Can you
demographics.
make it bigger? Can you make it bigger, please?
Okay. Is it bigger?
Yeah.
I hope it's bigger.
Thank you.
So we have demographics, psychographics, burning desires, and behavioral. So if I count, this is 10. So there's about 10 things that I will force myself to understand about how this persona behaves. There are 4 questions I must understand their answers to about what questions are they asking. I'll explain all of this in a bit. And I think I might just work with Dr. Vicky so that this template is available to everyone who joined the call today. 7 things about how they think, psychographics. And then all these things, 11 things about who they are. Now, this is important for a number of reasons. You need to know who they are, how they think, what they value, and most importantly, how they complain. You have to understand how your ideal customer complains, because value is the relative utility of a presented solution. So you must be solving a problem. But if you don't understand what the problem is, then you're stuck. So you must understand how they complain, where they complain, and when they complain. As far as they're your customer, you should be okay with them complaining. I don't tolerate people who complain around me, but unless you're my customer, complain all you want, please. I'm itching to hear you complain. Because I know that when I understand how they complain and the language that they use when they complain, I can craft my offers using that exact language. So when I present to you, let's say, for instance, I used to give this example. If I'm a bookseller, I wrote a book about how to mend your broken heart, recover from a broken a relationship and all. I want to know, where are the people who are heartbroken? Are they in an association of some sort? Are they in some kind of forum? Are they in a group somewhere? I need to know. And when I get into those forums, when I find the people that all of them listen to, all of a sudden, I'm equipped, but I need to listen. I need to see, are they saying things like, I just don't know how to pick the right man? That's one way. Or are they saying men are scum? The way you market to those two groups, it has to be different. You can't market the same way to those 2 groups of people. You can't. People who believe men are scum need to be pitched a different offer than people who believe that I just don't know how to find the right man. Right? So understand how they complain. It's very important. As much as possible, you want to relive their experience so that you can communicate resonance to them. We spoke about influence. If you don't understand me, you cannot motivate me. It's simple. So 10x persona. I hope we are not out of time. Yikes. So I'll just run through the remaining 2. You must pick a 10x problem. So for you to be immensely valuable, you must solve expensive, expansive problems with expensive, expansive solutions. what are expensive problems? These are problems that cost a lot of money to solve, and maybe just a handful of people face those problems. So you must solve problems that cost a lot of money for a handful of people, or you must solve an expansive problem, which are problems that a lot of people have, but maybe they don't pay so much for. So you need to understand where you sit on that continuum. So expensive, if you can, do both. Look for very expensive problems that a whole lot of people have, right? So how do you know that you've landed a 10x problem? You need to do your research, and you need to. So at this stage, I teach a lot about crystallization in the program. So you've probably heard, oh, a problem known is half solved. I don't believe that. A problem known is just a problem known. You've not solved the problem yet, right? But a problem crystallized creates conviction in your capacity to solve it. If you don't even know the problem to begin with, if you don't have the problem crystallized, then even when you solve it, you won't know. If you do not have a clear picture of your destination, when you arrive, you will not know. Right? So when you pick a 10x problem, it has to be crystal clear. You have to land what we call your problem statement. So I do, or for instance, X percentage of persona struggles with ABC problem due to XYZ circumstance beyond their control, or something of the sort. There are different templates for framing your problem statement, but you have to be clear. You have to be very clear about the problem it is that you're solving. Once you have a clear problem statement, your assignment is to redesign. Again, the apprehension people have when I tell them to pick a 10x problem is they start thinking, what if I pick a problem that I don't know how to solve? That's the point. If you will stand out, you must be solving either new problems in old ways, new problems in new ways, or old problems in new ways. But you cannot be solving old problems in old ways and expect that you will be highly valued. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it did, but it doesn't work that way. Case in point, none of us here have touched a typewriter in the past decade. Yeah, because, I mean, it's been a problem to type, but there are newer ways of typing. So nobody values the typewriter anymore. So if you will become highly valued and if you be paid 10 times more, you must understand how to 10x your price, how to pick a 10x persona, and how to pick a 10x problem. The final thing you must do is you must make a 10x pitch. And this blew my mind. I was speaking with a student of mine. I gave him an example to illustrate this point. I don't know how many of us here are Nigerian, but I used the Nigerian example to pass the point across. I asked him, how much would you pay for EBA? Dr. Vicky, do you know what EBA is?
Yes.
You know what EBA is?
Awesome. I'm married to a Nigerian, so I know what
okay. Oh, I forgot. So I asked him, how much would you pay for EBA on a regular day? He told me 1,000 naira. I said, fine. I asked him, how much would you pay for the Queen's Continental Cassava meal? And he said, wow, that sounds like a 10,000 naira thing. And I told him, but they're the exact same thing. I just called it something different. And all of a sudden, he felt like paying 10 times more. And so a lot of the time, the reason we struggle is because of the description that we gave the thing that we do. A lot of the times, the reason we struggle is because of the name, the packaging that we give to the thing. I'm blown away a lot of times when some people stumble across my profile. Sometimes complete strangers walk up to me and just compliment me and say, you have a strong profile. That was because I was intentional about my pitch. I worked on my profile so that when I speak with you, you value me at a certain level. So making a 10x pitch is not just about what you say when you get on the call with a prospect. It's about how you present yourself, everything that has to do with you, actually. They go into your pitch. Now, in terms of specific pitching frameworks, we teach all of that in the program. there's not enough time. Pitching, a fun fact, I'm writing my first book, which is, it's going to be called the VVIP business, where I work. VVIP meaning, valuable, visible, and irresistibly positioned. So that book is coming out. But before that book, I actually started writing a different book on pitching. So pitching is that vast. It's so vast, I considered writing an entire book on it, and I just might. So I can't really share so much on how to pitch, but when I work with people one-on-one, I take the time to help them. Well, by the way, I think two of the people who I trained in 2022. Back then, I was doing it for free. I mean, I trained them, but by the time that they were making some big pitches, they also were able to get their first 9-figure deals, so 6 figures in USD. And it was as a result of elevating the way that they communicated. So your task when you want to make a 10x pitch is really, how do you communicate that, hey, I just spent a lot of time thinking about your 10x problem. Hey, I have a 10x solution for that problem. You have an expensive, expansive problem. I just happen to have an expensive, expansive solution. Do you want to buy? Right? There are things that go into a pitch, but I think we've run out of time. But I usually give some examples. So I tell people the reason you struggle is because of the description you give the thing that you're doing. For instance, instead of saying, I am a photographer, I take pictures, tell me I make memories immortal. Tell me that. Rather than say I'm a baker, tell me I create adventures for the human taste buds. All of a sudden, I don't know what you're selling, but I want to buy. I want to buy. I mean, instead of saying I sew clothes, tell me I create a visual style that's consistent with the authority you want to command. All of a sudden, it's different. Like, you go from being someone who just makes clothes on the roadside to being someone who most likely sells designer outfits, even if you use the same equipment the person on the roadside uses. Value elevation culminates in making a 10x pitch. I wish I could share more, but I mean, okay, I'll give one more example. Instead of saying I sell fitness training, you can say I make you make your ex wish they never left you. Right? I'll sign up. Right? So crafting 10x pitches is crucial. Again, it's a 4-step blueprint. A 10x price. We've covered the things you must go through. A 10x price. A 10x persona. A 10x problem. And a 10x pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope the session has been insightful and helpful. This is all I have the time to share. Happy to take questions.
Please do share your questions. Thank you so much, Francis. You've sold me. I want to hear more about that challenge. You've sold everything you've done here today. You sold me. I typed from the beginning, I'm ready for the challenge. So I'm just waiting for the information. So share with us.
Oh, goodness.
Guys, please put your questions on the screen, in the comments. Somebody says, I'm screaming. If
someone is screaming?
I am screaming. I am screaming here, but I can't scream. I have to sit down, listen, and be decent. But from the time he started with the challenge, I was like, I am ready for the challenge. You can find my comment that I typed probably like an hour ago. Please tell us more about this challenge. The challenge. So, how do we get on board? What it's all about? But guys, put your questions in the comments.
Let me see. So, good news, bad news. The challenge is kicking off in December. So, I think December the 7th. It's a 14-day challenge. I give you templates. You have a lot of exercises. At the end of the program, you get a report card, which is not very common. You get a personal report card in terms of how you did on the program. You also get your certificate and all of that. But it's really geared towards helping you go from wherever you are right now to being 10 times more valued in your industry, no matter the industry you're in. And because it's geared to be a quality over quantity kind of challenge. We have an application that we put out for people to just use to indicate interest. So I will drop the link to the application form in just a bit.
Thank you so much.
So you just fill out the application and you will be, the applications will get screened and all of that. And then within 7 days, you hear from us in terms of, are you accepted into the program? But just for the record, like I mentioned, regular is 100 USD. I have a bonus surprise coming. Regular is 100 USD. VIP is 300 USD. 500 is for the VVIP. So let me just step through what you get for the different ones.
And before you go any further, it doesn't even sound as if you 10x'd anything, because those prices are reasonable.
Oh, they are. So the reason I do that, is because of something that I spoke about, right? Remember I mentioned testimonials are your ultimate ticket. So
Yes.
my secret ulterior motive is that the price is so low, we get a lot of people to take the challenge, get a whole bunch of results, and then I elevate that program so that it becomes more like it's meant to be, literally it's meant to be a $2,000 to $5,000
Wow.
program.
Guys.
Yes. So to be clearer, the things I'm teaching are the same things that I apply for clients who make the, I think we said 300K to $1 million USD
to
IT
1
agencies.
million.
So the same things that I do for those people, I'm trying to how do you say, create a miniature version of that so that it's accessible to more people. And then again, I'm not sure where different people are tuning in from. Economic circumstances may not be the same everywhere, but definitely take advantage of it. This is the lowest price it will ever be. See it as my Christmas gifts to everyone. So I've just dropped a link to the form in the chat. So
the chat, and this is okay. I'll just pull it over from there.
I just dropped it in the chat. Let me see. So
put it in the comment section so you have it. And I'll put it in for those on LinkedIn that aren't seeing those. Put it there as well.
Yep.
So I just shared it on the LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook as well. And
fantastic.
I'm going to actually pin it so you guys can see it on the screen. Actually, yeah.
Excellent. All right. So applications close by the 3rd of December. And then we have our screening. So for those who maybe want to pay for VIP, in addition to the program, training, the resources, your report card, and your certificate, you actually have the access to group coaching sessions where you can ask deeper questions. It's geared for you to be a practical exercise. So as you execute, it's expected that you have questions. So the VIPs are able to bring the questions that they encounter as they're executing, and then we handle that. In addition to that, I will give shout outs to my VIP students through my network and other channels that I have access to, so that they get more visibility for the things that they're doing. The VVIPs get all of that. And in addition to that, they get access to some of my team members. So if what you're building, for instance, needs developers, I give you access to some of my developers, content writers, video editors. You have access, you essentially have team augmentation for the things that you're doing. And then while the VIPs are promoted for 14 days, VVIPs are promoted for 21 days. So that's just something to bear in mind. Again, regular is 100, VIP is 300, VVIP is 500. However, you will have to apply. You actually can't even pay for VVIP straight up. You still will get screened, and you come in as regular. Then eventually you can upgrade to VVIP if you so desire. All right. Do we have questions? I'm curious though.
I don't see any on Instagram. On Facebook, they would have come up on the in our comments, and LinkedIn. I just see people commenting. Please do tell us if you have any questions. Please do share. But I
I
haven't
think we have
seen.
about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I don't see any questions on LinkedIn. Will the session be available as a recording? Yes. Please, guys, um, if you're interested, I just shared the link in the link on the LinkedIn page on Facebook as well as
I
it's on the
have
screen. It should YouTube as well.
I have one more surprise. So, um, for everyone on the call, they because Dr. Vicky is an amazing person. Um, if you register today and it gets to the point where you're screened and it's time for payment, you can actually get a 30% discount. You just have to mention I came from Dr. Vicky, and you get a 30% discount on. So the discount applies to VIP and regular. It doesn't apply to VVIP. But happy Merry Christmas.
And today it's Independence Day in Barbados, so
Oh,
it's still a
really?
gift
Happy
for us.
Independence.
Thank you.
Happy Independence.
It's
I'm
a
glad.
gift for us. So if you guys are interested, I just shared the link is shared on the screen. It is shared on whatever platform that you're on. Write it off. Make sure you write it off. I'm going to leave it up there until we end in the next 4 minutes. Write it off. Get registered. I already started filling out my form. I'm actually to what industry you're in. But I'm going to finish my form once we finish, and we'll definitely if we listen to all that Francis said, the value that he brings to the table. I want you to head over to his page as well and add him, connect with him. If you listen to all that he said, it is like taking you beyond the ordinary, taking you beyond where you are. I talk a lot about going visible and going global, and now I see this is actually one of the solutions that I can actually share with my clients for them to go global. Because for me, it's a stretch to times 10 my offering is a stretch, and it is an uncomfortable place, but I still know that that's the value that I bring to the table. But somewhere in there, the action needs to now destroy what's going on in here, because I know what I bring to the table. So I'll be definitely working with Francis to 10
Definitely.
times my pricing, 10 times my value, 10 times everything about me, so that I can really attract the audience that I know that I've been created to impact,
Yep.
and also make a global difference. So I'm going to pin that again. Make sure, remember, if you mentioned that you were here on the Dr. Vicky's live, you will get 30% off. That's $70. That's actually a really, really good price. 30% off, that's quite a bit. So please make contact with Dr. Fifth. Sorry, I was going to say Dr. Francis.
Dr. Francis, I should get a PhD soon.
Well, it's coming. It's coming. Dr. Francis. Somebody's asking, can we have a practical session to work us through like a
Like a
workshop?
workshop. So the 14-day value elevation challenge is a workshop. It's designed so that you take practical steps. You actually will be graded based on what you apply on your own business. It's not theory. So you're coming with your business, you're coming to take action, and at the end you will get the results. It's I've not seen it not work. It's something that I myself have done, living proof that this is something that you can intentionally do for yourself and for other people. So register for the challenge. That's the closest thing that I have to a workshop. Again, this is the lowest the prices will ever be, and take advantage.
Yeah, definitely. So my question is, for 2025, are those prices going to be going up?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So yeah, if you
Once
can
we
jump
get the initial group
out,
of people and we get them to pay and we get them results, it's going to be at least double the price. And depending on what the economy does, um, we might. So something that I forgot to mention is one of the benefits of being valuable is that it makes you inflation proof. It does. It makes you recession proof. It makes you inflation proof. If the economy, if prices of things just rise, you just go and raise your own prices and you know what to do to sustain them. So you're never thinking, oh, how do I sustain it? The economy is not so good. We build our own economies. Highly valuable people have their own economies that they set up. There are
wow,
people you never see them complaining about the
wow,
economy.
never.
Um, I can't remember. It's been a very long time since I complained about the economy. I haven't in a
Wow.
very long time. But it's all by the grace of God. I should
Yeah.
mention
Yes.
there's practical value, there's spiritual value, and emotional value. So for you to transcend just what people see and touch and feel, you do have to get closer to God. I always stress that. One of the books that we are meant to read in the challenge is the Bible. So some passages of scripture to help you with, because principles that work because the power of God makes them work. Right. So don't want to spill too much. I think I'm at 4:30 already here. So it's been an amazing time. I want to say thank you
Yes.
for the
Yes. It's been
session.
an amazing time.
Thank you,
And
Lisa.
we have Lisa. Lisa's from Trinidad and Tobago. And Lisa, I hope you're
Oh,
listening. This is for Lisa. So I'm going to share the link directly with her as soon as they come off. Actually, I'm going to put it in WhatsApp right now. Let me just look for Lisa because
no problem.
Lisa needs this. I'm telling you what we've discussed or what I've seen in her business, or what she's shared with me. I think this will just shift her, and she's looking for that shift in her business. So this will shift her
Definitely.
landscape 100%.
So
So I've just shared the
take
link in
advantage. Take
her,
advantage.
and
Let's
I want
make
her to watch it over. This you have to watch it from the beginning, and you'll see why I recommend you for
okay.
this.
Awesome. 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 So, like I always say, let's make the rest of your life the best of your life. And this is cheers to an elevated 2025. So I'll see you guys on the other side. I have to run. I do have another engagement, but thank you all
Thank
so much.
you.
It's been a pleasure. I'll catch you
Thank
soon.
you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. So, guys, it's a pleasure always being here. It's a pleasure always being here. Remember, please go ahead and click on that link if you are interested in joining the challenge that Francis spoke about. You can go ahead and you can do that. It was a pleasure being here once again. I am Dr. Vicky Otarugina, and today you joined me for the Mindset Exchange. The Mindset Exchange, and my guest was Francis Val Nabel. We talked about from humble beginnings to high earnings, mindset shifts for 9-figure deals. So just follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, wherever you're joining us from. And definitely, we're looking to move you to the next level and also help you to reach global audiences with what God, what has been placed inside of you, what God has placed inside of you, and the ability, the business, the projects, everything that He's given to you. So Warner is saying you wanted to share a personal calendar. I'm not sure, but of course, you can reach out to him also on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to get that information from him as well. So one more time, I'm going to put up his LinkedIn. You can visit that, and do have an awesome and wonderful weekend. He said there's a template that he's given. Please do reach out to me via DM or my email, which is vicky.otarugina@gmail.com. You can reach out on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. DM me if you want that template that he shared for the 10 times 10 times your price and so on, and I'll make sure that I get it to you. So have a wonderful weekend. See you once here again on Mindset Exchange with Dr. Vicky. Bye-bye.